time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October the 6th, 2020, City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street in Terrell, Texas. As we always begin our meeting, we have our mask on. If you're social distancing, if you're 6 feet apart, at this time you may remove your mask. If you're not, please keep your mask on and remember to social distance as we deal with this coronavirus and COVID-19. We have for invocation tonight Pastor Juan Gil from Iglesia Cristiana Ebenezer and Terrell. Would you please come forward and lead us in prayer?
Yes.
And you can do either English or Spanish or both, however.
Let us bow our head and we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you in this moment, first of all, just thank you. Thank you, Father, for all the blessings that you pour upon us, Lord. Such rich and abundant blessings that you give each and every one of us. Thank you for life itself, Father. Thank you for the health you give us so that we may fulfill our tasks, Lord. We thank you for all the blessings that you have given us, Lord. Lord, your word instructs us to pray for our governing authorities. You ask us to pray for them, and that is what we are here to do, Lord, to pray for our governing authorities, for our leaders, Lord. And we just pray, Father, that you may grant them wisdom, that you may grant them, Lord, understanding, that you may grant them, Lord, the wisdom, Lord, to make the best decisions, Lord, in the interest of the community. Lord, I pray for each and every one of the city officials, for our mayor, for the governing body here present, Lord, that your spirit be here, Lord, in giving them that wisdom, that guidance, that they are able to make decisions, Lord, according to your will, according to your perfect will, Lord. For we know that is where the true blessing resides, when we strive to do your will. So I just pray, Father, for all of our brothers and sisters here, Lord, and that you may grant them that wisdom and that understanding. Father, we thank you again, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. Pastor, thank you so much for coming this evening. I think we have some gifts.
Yes.
But before we do that, let's go ahead and adopt the minutes and let's see. And then we'll do the mayor and council community recognitions in just a moment. Please don't leave. We've got something to give you. So, adoption of the minutes. Discuss and consider minutes of the special city council meeting and workshop on September the 22nd of 2020 and the regular city council meeting on September the 22nd of 2020. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion we adopt the minutes from the September 22nd and the regular city council meeting and the workshop.
We have a motion from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by state and aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 6 is mayor and council community recognition and events. At this time, I'd like to have Mayor Ronnie Velasquez read into the record a proclamation from the mayor. Would you pass that down? She has graciously agreed to do that.
See, I'm going to go ahead and move towards the front.
Okay.
Close to your mouth.
Today we are doing a Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation, and I thank and we thank everyone who has joined us today. While it is Hispanic Heritage Month, we also celebrate our diverse community and all the contributions from our community members that make Terrell who we are. And if I can have Pastor Juan Gila and his wife please come back up. And then I see we have our chamber representative, Dora, and Terrell High School graduate, if she doesn't mind coming up as well. And then we have Jackie from not only a Terrell High School graduate, but also one of our library staff. And feel free to join me back here. And then we have one of our pastors as well, and longtime Adopt a Block, food pantry, and everything else you do for our community, Julio. And then from our school district, we have Laura Espinosa, and she has been serving our Terrell ISD students for about almost 15 years, 14, 15 years. Feel free to come around. And she also lives in the city of Terrell. So we certainly thank all have joined us, and really are so they really represent a bigger, they're only a piece of the pie, right? And they represent many of those contributors who make up Terrell. We mentioned, from our school district to our chamber jobs, to our faith and our own city services here. So reads, whereas Representative Edward R. Roybal of Los Angeles sponsored legislation to set aside a commemorative week to recognize the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, economy, and achievements in the United States. And whereas September 15 was designated as a starting point for the commemoration because it is the anniversary of independence of 5 Hispanic countries. And whereas President Lyndon Johnson signed the legislation into law in 1968, and whereas in 1988 the commemorative week was expanded to a month through legislation sponsored by Representative Esteban Edward Torres, amended by Senator Paul Simon, and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month was first proclaimed by President George H.W. Bush on September 14, 1989. And whereas the United States government continues to celebrate the countless contributions of more than 60 million Hispanic Americans who make up the largest minority group in the United States. And whereas this population serves in our military and law enforcement, comprising half of our Border Patrol agents and working in careers that are critical to the defense of our communities and nation. Whereas Hispanics also make up a significant percentage of our local workforce, serving in various businesses and industries including education, nonprofits, municipal government, and healthcare, just to name a few. And whereas Terrell's growing population of Hispanics embody important American values, including commitment to faith, family, and country. Now, therefore, by our Mayor, Rick Carmona, by myself as council member, and by Terrell City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15 to October 15, 2020 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Terrell, and encourage all citizens to pay tribute to these citizens for their positive enrichment to our community. Move up forward with me, please, and we're going to try to do a group photo. Tim has he also has a Hispanic heritage.
Can you see everybody? Is everybody smiling with the mask on?
Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Royce, I get second after stuff. I can Go ahead, go, man. Good deal.
And before we go to the court, you'll come up for, take these off my
Yeah,
I told him St. Patrick's Day, I guess he wants to be in the picture too.
O'Malley over there.
I'll do it all.
That's a good deal.
Again, thank you all very much for your contribution to the community, to the city, and thank you for being here this evening. Next item on the agenda is to, we do have remarks from Mayor, Council, Community Recognition. Grady, did you want to recognize someone?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to take the time to recognize Councilwoman Rani Velasquez. I just admire her courage, all the things she's done. In the time that I've known her, she is just as active in my district as she is hers. And I love her passion, I love what she brings. I get excited every time I'm around her with her ideas. And I just think she's an amazing council person. I'm glad to have her.
Thank you, Grady. Certainly was not expecting that. Thank
Anyone else?
you. And I'd like to say something about Charles.
Mike, would you let everybody know what you and I participated in this afternoon?
Right, so this is a little backstory is necessary. Back during World War II, Terrell was home to the British Flying Training School Museum, and the British Flying Training School number 1, and the BFTS school there. The British school actually taught pilots who came over from Great Britain and need to learn how to fly during the World War II so that they could go back, fully trained combat pilots, and be able to get back over to England and fight the war. And if we had not been training thousands of those pilots here in Terrell, who knows what would have happened during World War II. So we always feel like we made a very significant contribution during World War II. Well, the airplane used was a Stearman, and that was the standard training vehicle aircraft at the time. And there were a small number of those here that survived over these many years. One of those Stearmen has come back. It's been in Florida for a long time, and the owner was kind enough to bring it back. He's arranging a donation to the British Flying Training School Museum of a Stearman that was actually used during the World War II training here in Terrell. That pilot was kind enough to be here today. He offered kind of a last-minute opportunity for the mayor and I to take a little airplane ride. It's a two-seater, so he took me up first, and I guess the mayor was waiting for the plane not to crash with me in it. And we did successfully make it back and land. Then a little while later, the pilot also took the mayor up. So I want to thank the chairman of the British Flying Training School Museum, Bill Huckmaker, for arranging that. Bill's a great guy, doing a good job leading the BFTS Board of Directors right now. So thanks to Bill Huckmaker for that opportunity for the mayor and I. So if you saw a World War II aircraft flying around Terrell today, there was not an attack. It was just the mayor and I getting an aerial tour of the city.
Right, and the pilot that took us up was former military. So he really knew what he was doing, controlled the aircraft well. Very thankful, appreciative that I was able to ride in a plane with the history that it has. Not many people can say that they've been in a plane that was used to train pilots for World War II. I now can say that, and that's one of my proudest moments, I think, is I flew over the city and looked at it all. Of course, it looks much different than it did when they went out. We flew over the grave sites for the pilots that perished here in Terrell. It was really, really moving to be able to experience that. And I understand that we may have an opportunity through the Terrell Chamber auction for our citizens to bid on that as well. So we're going to work through that and get that taken care of. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I could, one of our mayors,
Henry May.
Henry Mazurk, was one of those pilots, and one of those British pilots, and he married a Terrell girl. He was involved in all kinds of activities, grading, with the baseball, Little League, and that, and was ultimately mayor. And so some of those guys stayed here, and some of the guys made their home here.
Right. No, and I was fortunate enough to serve on one of the councils with Henry. His heart was strong and hard for the city of Terrell. Did a lot of good work in and about our community. So you're right. I should have mentioned that about former mayor, but thank you very much. Item number 6 is to hear remarks from visitors. Do we have any? No. Item number 7 is boards and commissions. 7.1 is discuss and consider park board reappointments. That's going to be Mr. Glenn Caldwell. As Glenn comes up, for those that are in the audience that are here, and you don't want to stay for the full event of the council meeting, you're welcome to leave at any time. Thank y'all for being here again. Not staff. Staff and all. Just visitors. Go ahead, Mr. Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, Council, we're here to discuss the park board appointment. It's Mr. Reggie Pigman. He was originally appointed to serve on the park board back in June of 2016. He was reappointed to serve his second term in August of 2018. And as of August 31st, 2020, Mr. Pigman's second term had expired. Attached, we do have a letter from the park board chairman, Mr. Matthew Malone, and a copy of an email from Mr. Pigram requesting reappointment.
Okay. And the park board is under Councilman Tim Royce, District 5. Tim? Mr. Royce, what do you think?
So, I got to tell you, Mayor, I'd be happy to go ahead and make that motion that we reappoint Mr. Pigram. He's been a good member of the Parks Board and is well connected to the community, as he also is a school board member. So, with that, I make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Pigram to the Parks Board.
Okay, we have a motion from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, District 5. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 That motion passes. Item number 8 is new business. Number 8.1 is discuss COVID-19 update. This is going to be our emergency management coordinator, Dustin Connor.
Mayor, while Dustin is logging on, I see him there remotely. I'll tell you that we're going to do a little update from Mr. Connor, and then we're going to switch over to, I believe, Mike McKeska at the end of his presentation, because Mike's got a couple of water-related issues that were COVID-19 issues that we wanted to also cover. Dustin, are you able to hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my camera's not working tonight for some reason, so sorry about that. I can see you, you can't see me. Okay, so let's just talk about a couple of things. The first slide here that's up, thank you, Don. The number of molecular tests, just so you kind of see that up there, 6.6 million. That's 1 million more tests than where we were 2 weeks ago. The reason this number is important is because just a couple of months ago, we were talking about how we were having an increase of testing that was directly related to an increase of new cases, new positive tests. While we're still seeing new positive tests every day, the number goes further and further apart from number of tests and number of new confirmed cases. So just kind of something to know. Confirmed cases in the state right now, 773,000. That's up 80,000 in the last 2 weeks. So when we get to the slide here in a second that has the graph, you'll see that that number is still kind of trending down. Closer to home, 42 active cases in the county right now. 6 of those are in the Terrell zip code. 3 of those are in the city. So that's a pretty good place to be. I'm not sure when those fall off, but still 3 cases in the city, not bad. Still no new reported cases of fatalities in our county, so that's good. The next slide there shows or the one that was just up, sorry, shows the kind of a trend for new confirmed cases on a daily in Kaufman County. The blue line that's in the middle, it's this slide before this one, sorry. The blue line that's in the middle of that slide just kind of shows the 7-day rolling average. So you see we hit that the high spike right there, kind of mid-August, and then we kind of come back down and we just kind of hovering around that kind of that low. Was that probably around 15 or 20 cases? So those are good trends. Next slide. This is a statewide data. The yellow line on the pink graph to the left and the yellow line on the green graph to the right shows the 7-day rolling average. So it shows the same thing at a high spike in the July and August range, and now we've kind of leveled off. So we're just going to keep watching that that 7-day rolling average, and those numbers are still looking good. 21 or almost 2,200 new cases. Those numbers were from Thereto yesterday. Reported yesterday, so I didn't have today's cases before I sent this over. The next slide. The next slide shows hospital data. This is the big one. This is what we're continuing to watch because it's the data that's most important to us. It shows our hospital loading, and so we're still saying we're much better off than where we were back in the summer. So it's not unreasonable to believe that we may see an increase as we come into flu season, as people's immune systems are just down anyway, but we'll just continue to monitor those, and as long as we continue to do the CDC stuff, like the social distancing, hand washing, wearing a mask when appropriate, I think that we're doing a pretty good job of keeping this in check. More close to home, just talking about cases that are here in town in the nursing homes are the big concern for the state, and something to note is that we continue to have no positive cases in our long-term care facilities, so that's good. There have been a couple of employees across those facilities that have tested positive, but they've been isolated away from patients and following HHSC guidelines. They're also receiving regular inspections from HHSC, so just making sure that their protocols are in line, and we continue to stay in contact with them to make sure that they have everything that they need from us, and making sure that we can provide anything that they do need when they come across that. For those of you that don't know, we just finished day 1 of the drive-through down at the municipal airport. There's still plenty of time to register. They saw around 60 people today. The last test that they had at that location, they did around 90. So 60 today. We have tomorrow and Thursday left. So this is a 3-day test, and you can still register for that. You can do that online. Free COVID test. I think it's freecovidtest.com, I think is the website address. But we'll have it on our Facebook page, and I'll send it over to Allison to get out on the city's Facebook page again. The other big question is about Halloween. The state hasn't really put out any guidelines as far as events for Halloween. I think it's just going to kind of be this personal responsibility and making sure that you're taking care of yourself and your families and doing your due diligence on events that you go to, on any events that are being held, social distancing, wearing masks, using hand sanitizer, that kind of thing. But there hasn't been anything specific from the governor's office that I've seen as of yet. And with that, I'll open up for any questions.
So Dustin, on the testing, is that a saliva swab? Is that a nasal? You know how they're doing that?
Sorry, it's an oral swab, so if you had asked me that yesterday, I wouldn't have had an answer to that, but I actually talked to the staff today, and they are doing all oral swabs, so it's a pretty well-run little process down there. It goes through pretty quick, so, and they're saying results 48 to 96 hours, so that's pretty quick turnaround too.
Great. So encourage those who need to I think they'll also take a drive up if you haven't scheduled, if they're slow.
So the last time they had the test here, they were not allowing walk-ups, but they have some extra tests. Plus, they were planning on around 90 per day. So only seeing, I think 64 was the number today. They do have some extra tests there, so you can register on site. You just have to do it online, but they give you a code so you can quick register.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for your efforts and work within the city. I want to thank our residents for social distancing, for using the mask, for using protocol. I think that all of that combined has helped keep our cases down. So thank our citizens for that. Council, does anybody have any questions or comments for Dustin Connor? Dustin, thank you very much. We also have Mike McKesson.
Thank you, sir.
Mike has been managing this issue of water sales during the COVID-19 time. Of course, that's been a policy issue that you guys dealt with, and I wanted Mike to come forward and just let you know how all that worked out.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, just have a few slides to summarize kind of what we've done over the last few months and then where we're at as of today. So just as a reminder, when we went back to March, into March, we stopped the cutoffs for non-pays of water, which was really prompted by the PUC's guidance and decision to not have any utility bills, electric and water, cut off due to the COVID hardships. And so we went into April, May, and June, and instead of doing cutoff notices, anybody that was behind on the bill, we just sent out a letter that said, this is a reminder, we're working with you, and you know, understand there's tough times. This is not a waiver, but we're not going to cut your water off. Just a reminder that you're going to have to pay this at some point. In July and August, after discussions with Mr. Sims, we kind of targeted end of September. So we sent out notices with all the bills in July and in August in both English and Spanish, saying, hey, just keep in mind, end of September cutoffs are coming, and you need to contact us for a payment plan. And that's all you basically need to do, and we'll set something up. We had a form for them to sign, and we asked them to document any particular hardships. Frankly, at the time, Rhonda had already had notes from calls, because people had called before we ever got to this point. And so the bottom line is where we were last week, and then as of today, the next slide. We had, at the day of cutoffs, last Wednesday, we had 211 customers who had documented payment plans, whether it was a call and Rhonda had it or a signed form. And so we were working with that many people. We actually had 371 accounts behind, so that left 160 from the 371 that went on the cutoff list last Wednesday. As of today, we still have 30 people that have not contacted Rhonda to pay partial or full amount on the bill. We will be following up to some extent, checking that, making sure the water's still turned off, frankly, and that's what we do on a normal basis. And then we'll keep working with them. All they have to do is call us, and then we stretch it out. The notes gave up to 12 months payment on whatever the past due amount was. So on the next slide, just to give you an idea of where we stood last Tuesday, on the 29th, I went to Rhonda and I said, how many, where are we looking at? And there were actually 514 accounts that were behind, and it totaled about $191,500. And she said, it's going to come down, and she was right. By September, the next day, for payments made that Tuesday and overnight and online, we went down to $157,000. That represented the 371 accounts, which ended up with the documentation. We had 160 cutoffs. So basically, this is where we're at as of yesterday. We're down to account balances that are past due of $120,000. So if you look at it in a couple of days' time, $65,000 came in off of that balance from $191,500 to $126,375 in 2 days. An additional $65,000 came in. A Customers are working with us on this. They were very appreciative of the extensions, was the information I got. And just the last little note, the bottom of that slide, coincidentally, the PUC, you may have seen it on the news, reinstated electricity disconnects effective October 1st. So it basically ended up being a day apart between our initiating the cutoffs on September 30th and the PUC saying effective October 1st. There's no waiver on cutoffs for electricity providers as well. We didn't know that 2 months ago, but that's how it's worked out. So if you have any questions, I'll attempt to ask them.
What is this compared to what we might normally see on
That's a great question. The number of cutoffs was right in the average. The total amount of accounts that are behind at 120,000 is about twice what we would typically see. So we started out last Tuesday over 3 times what we would normally see on a month outside of COVID.
And that's due to them being in arrears from the previous?
The last several months,
Yeah.
yes. And we had people come in that had $700 balances and they just, here's a $700, they paid it off. And
Well,
some of them, they're asked for 12
We
months.
appreciate the hard work as staff. I know it's not an easy thing to do. The city does need to cover its costs when and where it's possible. And we feel for those that are having hardships. Again, we tried everything within reason to help those who reached out for help, right?
That is correct. All they had to do was call and we wouldn't have had cutoffs.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions or comments from staff or staff? Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Item number 8.2 is discuss current citywide development update. This is going to be Municipal Development Director Charles Fenner.
So, Mayor and Council, I'll give Charles just a little bit of intro. You'll be glad to know I'm going to skip part of this presentation. This is an informational presentation, so I'm going to ask Dawn to skip over to PowerPoint slide number 7. A lot of the front information in this presentation, I wanted you to have it in your packet, but you've seen a lot of that before. Charles and I were invited to present to the American National Bank Board of Directors. They asked for an update on what's going on in the city. So the first couple of slides are things you've seen before, but we did include the whole presentation here. I'm going to ask Charles to step up, and he's just going to jump right on into his part of this kind of shared presentation that he and I have had, where it says state of the city. Charles will go through a little section here on development update, and then he'll hand it back to me, and I'll wrap up a couple of things on downtown issues when we get to the end of the PowerPoint.
I'm sorry, what page?
It's all right.
7. You were there a minute ago. It said, where it says state of the city.
7, but then...
There you go. Whoop. Touchdown.
All right, good evening, Mayor Council. Just real quick, we'll go through some things with our permitting as of for this year to date, or early September actually, and then some real estate numbers and just some examples of what's happening around town as we like to discuss about our core and so forth. So, say the city and go. I guess I need to do this. Okay, so real quick on some permits here, and pay attention to this, and because I'll be referring to it here in a minute. But our new single-family permits, you can see there are 8. Our new infill permits, 27, 22 for remodels. It's about 57 total permits, around $6 million, and that's since increased quite a bit. But you can see that we have a lot of focus, and again, I discuss a lot of times when we come to council in my world, you're seeing a lot of new stuff happening.
Charles, remind me, is that January to August? Is that October
Yes,
to August?
January to August.
January to August. Okay.
So it's a little slower than the year before, but we'll talk a little bit about our new single-family permits have been around the 100 mark in the years previous, and we'll see that change this next year because we just haven't had the amount of development that we've put on the ground here in the past year and a half or so. So you'll see that change. But the good thing is we see a lot happening in our infill and remodel, and that's the core, purest form of the value that we can get into our town, and so that's great for us. You can move on.
It's not working.
Oh, is this working or are you working? Okay, well, this is working. So here's just a great example, 703 West End. This is infill lot. So this is part of that permit that you saw on that value. This is a $220,000 home that was built there. And next one. I'm speaking until it's working. 705 West End, $220,000. So again, this is great stuff that we have. Just got another one today, a real estate sheet for Town North. It was a $225,000, 1,900 square foot built up in town on Town North where the house was torn down or burnt. And so again, great additive to our roles and home ownership. It's a big deal. Next one. Our back one. This is an example of remodel, $110,000. We see those quite a bit around town, and so you saw that, and that's actually, we've had several permits this last couple of weeks on the remodel, so that's a good thing. And next, you can go next. So here's a great example of what code enforcement can do to your real estate values and to compliance in the city. And I know you're very supportive of our code enforcement department and how we process that. And here you can see this property here went to the building standard committee, and they took it on to reinvest in the area, and so that's a $198,000 remodel to 202 North Park. We have several of these. We were moving pretty quick on our BSCs and going through. We had 3 or 4 meetings about a year and a half ago, and we had several homes. At one point, we had 18 out of the 22 that were compliant, voluntary compliance, and so those either were torn down or remodeled at that time. And so these are just some values that have come through as they have gone through and reinvested. So it's a big deal to us. You can go to the next one. Commercial, about 20 permits. About $9 million where we're at there. We'll talk a little bit about that. You can see 7 permits in the retail area and commercial additions, and 10 and new commercial permits at 1. So a lot of this, about a year and a half ago, I guess we saw several $100 million worth of permits because we had some of the big development coming on. A lot of this right now is some of our parceled out properties that we'll show you in just a minute. The next slide. So this being one. This out parcel D&E. You may notice this construction going on behind Chick-fil-A over there in front of Hobby Lobby. That's in the back. That's a 17,000 square foot building. That's a $2 million value and cost. So added value, it's quite a bit more. We did C&E, the B and C, A, B, and C with the other parcels that you saw, the out parcels where the mint dentistry had come in, and the haircut and the James Avery shop and so forth. So this will be, they'll be working through this next year. Next one. We talked about this, I think Mr. Dunlap mentioned this early on. His report about doing an agreement with the 1836 Farms with the old Fuji building, which we used to spend, I guess, every week talking to somebody about redoing that building. So we're glad that somebody finally came in and EDC worked with them, and it was a great partnership. Our council did an agreement, approved an agreement with them too, and so we'll have a great new look, great new business, and that remodel there is about a $2 million project. So next one. La Quinta. It's 85 rooms. It's about a $9.5 million project, and so that's a great additive. Keep going. Just real quick on average home sales. This is an actual October, September. This fluctuates a little bit. You can look at some things. Right now we're about 206,000 in that average market. You look at your zip code, or you can look at Terrell ISD, or you can look in the city, and those are all they differ quite a bit. You can have about a $40,000 difference in the months depending on zip code and school district, and so that can be around 160,000. It can be up a little bit too. So next slide. Average home in 2019 is 201, so that's good. These values are going up, and see, you just saw these new infill lots A lot of our stalling addition that hasn't had a lot of stuff happening it's selling. We're having the $215,000, $220,000 home market, so you can only see these go up. We'll tell you some of the stuff I did a couple days ago. We had about 440 sales this past year, and the 70% of them. Or 67% of them were around the 200,000 and below, and so the rest, the other 30% are above, and so they're spread out quite a bit. So our median values also be a lot different too in these areas when you see some of the lower homes and then some of the higher homes. So, okay, next slide. So here we refer back to the new single-family permits. We talk about all that's going on with our remodel and our infill, and I think this is going to be a really great year for infill lots because we have seen so much. But we also have seen a lot of new subdivisions come out planned and on the ground, and you'll see there you guys have approved these. North Francis, the big development up North Francis, we did the plan development up there and the developers agreement there. That's also the area that we introduced the 80 so lots with the 1.5 acre and the state lots for our first new subdivision that'll contain those lots there. So that'll be exciting in that area. The Rose Hill development, the Rose Hill and the Woodlands development, that's going to create this major intersection down in the southern portion where we have Windsor Road that's going to be extended, Rose Hill over to Rose Hill, and eventually, Windsor is planned to go all the way to 148, so that'll be a major east to west corridor. But we'll have Windsor Road, Rose Hill, and then Rockwall will be extended south down to the frontage, and so these two subdivisions are over in that area. The Rose Hill estates are actually located east of Rose Hill Road, north of the future Windsor extension. The Woodlands are actually going to be located south of that, a couple parcels, and it'll be east of the Rose Hill Road at the corner of I-20 and Rose Hill, and then it'll also have a boundary on the east side of the future Rockwall South extension, and so that's 278 lots. That was a plan. Both the Rose Hill and the Woodlands and the North Francis were all plan developments and all developer agreements that we worked with, as you know, as council. And so the Woodlands actually have submitted a construction plat, have gone through the P&Z for their construction plat. Their first phase will actually be 106 lots, so they're moving pretty quick. As you recall, when we did this planning, the entire Mile property on tour has come in and purchased that property, and so they'll be the main builder in that project. And so we're excited about that. A great engineer that's doing the project. As you know, there's going to be about 9 areas that are going to be common areas. They're going to have the hike and bike trail, and you have that floodplain area and some underbrush cut from the highway. So it'll be a very neat subdivision to see there coming down the highway. And then the Cox, that's just up off Griffith and Lovers in that area. So those are going to be some nice, good-sized lots and some good homes there. So we're looking forward to that. So here you go, 1,566 lots within the city limits. And that's a lot different than Creekside is a phased, forgot to mention that one. Creekside is the 8-phase development, and we're in a few of they're working on a few of the phases. Hopefully we're going to be introducing a new builder or two into that subdivision. So that's good. Good things are coming with these other developments too. But just speaking to that, when you get into this and you start moving with the Woodlands, you can see that we'll be seeing a lot more new single-family permits too, to add to not just have the big infill and the remodel, but a lot of newer ones too. So new permits, and that's good. Like I said, our big focus, we want to renovate and revive, that downtown infill and that core and all that. So that's a big deal to us. But this is gonna make a huge difference. So you can go to the next slide. These are the ETJ lots. So these are just right on the perimeter. So they do affect us. They shop here. They're going to do everything here basically. But Las Lomas, that is a little different because that's the most western point of Las Lomas over at the Sage Hill intersection. We're just south of Windmill and the Gateway over in that area. And so that first phase was approved as 232 lots. That's in the Forney School District, so we don't care much about that. But the Oak Valley, the Oak Point, Longspur, we've just done the Oak Valley and the Oak Point. Oak Valley's in Oak Ridge, city of Oak Ridge, and the Oak Point's out off 304, 305 in that area. And then Longspur's been going on just north of Griffith out there off of 205. So that's about 500 lots there, and we have some other ones we're talking to right now too. So you can see there's about 2,000 lots just within the city or on the perimeter that are moving right now. So you can move on. Multifamily, we do have the Crossroads. You can see that going up. You've been out there behind Film Alley, of course, and we have the TVCC. If you may recall, it's been a while since we actually approved that plat, but that property was rezoned a couple years ago behind Legacy Ag Cred, where they built their building. Behind that area, there was some land over in that area going towards the airport that was rezoned, and they had planned out for 215 apartments there. So that's what we have in multifamily. And move on. And senior living. You will see at the next meeting, you're going to see the zoning case for the Poetry and State property. It's there at Creekside. They took some acreage out of that area, and we're rezoning it from retail into a single-family SF 7.5 with the overlay to allow for an assisted living. This won't be senior living, but it'll be assisted living care with a memory care unit. There'll be 66 units, and so the council will be having a public hearing on that at the next meeting on the 20th. Windsor, you just went through and heard that case, and it's actual senior living, and that's again at that big major intersection that we're creating at Rockwall and Windsor, and so you're going to have those three areas developed there. So that's 214 units of assisted living care or senior care, and as you know, you've heard there's up to a 10-year wait on some of these areas, and so you can move on. Just additional real quick, we went over the Quinta, the Bradshaw, there's another commercial building going up over there, Crossroads D&E, we talked about that, 1936. There are two new car dealerships that are planned for out at Crossroads on the very far west corner. There's a 14-acre tract there just west of west of Hobby Lobby and Academy behind them. And American Way would be extended out there. That's Gilchrist family that's done quite a bit for the city. Been a great partner with the city here and built the Ford house and the Dodge house. They'll be building a Chevy and Cadillac Buick there on the 14 acres. And the focus on the core.
Charles, can I drop in here real quick? So lots of good data from Charles. I really appreciate his real estate background, that he can bring us that and track all of that information. And I'll wrap up this presentation by just saying that, when we're out and about and saying, where are we going? Where are we trying to lead the city? What's our hope for the future? We want to focus on the core in the downtown area. And it's important to remind people how much work has gone on here. We've got a downtown plan in place, a comp plan in place. They focus on downtown. A major victory this summer where we rezoned over 300 parcels of land from light industrial to downtown district, all within the core area of our downtown. Our tax increment refinance zone changed their financial plan to focus on downtown. That photo is looking across a couple of vacant lots in downtown that are going to be really important for us to work with, making improvements on those areas. We purchased the Chapman Building on the next page. Obviously, we're relocating the BFTS Museum there. That's a big commitment to downtown because that's our focal point tourist attraction in Terrell. We want to make sure that those folks can walk around a beautiful downtown Terrell when they come here. The next page is interior of the Chapman Building. I can tell you that I've got my little draft of a master plan from the Mark Thacker architecture team. So we're working on that. Mark Thacker is not only working with us, we've also got him working with the BFTS Board of Directors so that they can coordinate what's going to go on the inside of this as we renovate it. I got to stop calling it the Chapman Building, because it was originally built as the Muckleroy Hardware Building, and we're so proud of kind of the history lesson that we've learned and picked up here. Started off as a one-story building, was expanded on several times. As we did an analysis of it, it looks like the foundation's in better shape than we thought, and it also looks like this prediction we've all given you that most of these interior floors are going to have to be taken out. Well, you know, that's turned out to be the case. We know there's going to be some pretty substantial gutting of parts of the inside, but we'll save what we can as we move through there. The next page is just my wrap-up slide. Thanks to Kaufman County and the Regional Transportation Council, we've already put together $2 million in quiet zone money, complete streets downtown. Can't spend it yet because we've got to gather up more funds to put with that. Even today, meeting with Southwestern Christian College, I can tell you Grady Simpson was kind enough to arrange a meeting with the president of Southwestern Christian College today. And you just think about having that college downtown and what a resource it can be. Well, part of their success depends on our ability to deliver great improvements downtown. And so we have a goal, obviously, of doing quiet zones for all the reasons we've talked about in the past related to making sure that our downtown is a great place to be. But remember, when you put those in place, you're also helping make Southwestern Christian College a great place to be and a great place to be in a dorm as a student. So that's going to be important for that partnership moving forward. Construction is a wonderful thing. Somebody out in the audience taught me that the how's it go? The road to progress is under construction. That's my saying. The road to progress is under construction. Well, North Alley and South Alley are going to be under construction soon. In order to make progress downtown, we got to rip up North Alley, replace the whole thing. We got to rip up South Alley, replace the whole thing. Those are our next two major public infrastructure projects in downtown, and they'll be disruptive, but by golly, we'll get them done. And then, of course, the paddock board is there, and I can't tell you how anxious they are to come meet with you. They're making a lot of good progress on their capital plan, and I'm looking forward to a time this fall where we can do our first joint meeting with the paddock board. I would say that we're aiming for a November joint meeting, and they'll blow you away. Councilman Velasquez is on that group, and you will see a lot of great ideas coming from them very soon. So that's a quick overview. Wanted to give you the same information we're sharing out and about. We'll take this to Rotary and Kiwanis Club and anybody else out there who wants to talk to Charles about it. We'll send him out on the good path there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I want to thank the staff for the presentation. Council, you can see we've got a lot going on within the city, within our city limits. Good to see the development, both in residential and commercial. Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Item number 8.3, discuss and consider Terrell Economic Development Corporation budget. We workshopped this a little earlier. If you would, Ray Dunlap with the TDC is here. And again, we've seen this in workshop. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we need to adopt the budget as presented from the Terrell Economic Development Corporation. Is there a motion on item 8.3?
Mayor, I make a motion that we
Adopt.
move on the budget for the Terrell Economic Development, item 8, adopt.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2, to adopt the budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I'd just like to say for all those that are tuning in tonight or watching this afterwards that this budget places an emphasis on our retaining our existing businesses, continuing to support them through COVID-19. It also places an emphasis on workforce development with our high school students and those currently in our community, and also support some of those non-traditional businesses that traditionally receive services through TDC or the Chamber of Commerce, and then there's a lot more in the budget for Terrell Economic Development and support of jobs here for our community. So just wanted to make sure that our audience is aware of all the work moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there any further comments or questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Thank you, Ray. Item number 8.4 is to discuss and consider American Way and Sage Hill Parkway Connector Agreement with the Terrell Economic Development Corporation. This is City Manager Mike Sims.
Mayor and Council, this item comes recommended to you by our Tax Increment Refinance Board of Directors on a unanimous recommendation for you, and also it comes forward from a unanimous recommendation of our Economic Development Corporation. This is the agreement that we needed to put in place to make sure that we were all very clear with the flow of money back and forth between the Hotel Occupancy Tax Fund, the Economic Development Corporation, and future property tax dollars in this area. As you know, the developer raised their hand and said, hey, let's get this built. Let's build American Way to connect over to Sage Hill Parkway. That's kind of the southern exit, the sneaky way out of the Film Alley area. So we're happy that it's constructed, happy that it's out there now, but we did want to paper up the agreement a little bit differently, give ourselves a contingency measure in there. We're happy with it now. I kind of described this in our workshop as if I had a better crystal ball, we'd have probably put this in the agreement 2 years ago, but you can't anticipate everything. And here, what we anticipated, or what we failed to anticipate, was the good news of getting the public infrastructure ahead of getting the event center and the event center hotel. So we see that roadway out there now, and this agreement just helps paper up the backside of that agreement.
Again, this is something that we workshopped earlier today. It's just cleaning up the agreement and making sure everybody understands who's responsible for what obligations and the payback and all associated with the new infrastructure, needed infrastructure, so that we can get the flow of traffic going in and around that development. Is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, the mayor will entertain a motion on item 8.4.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item 8.4, the agreement between the City of Terrell and the Terrell Economic Development Corporation, describing in the agreement the payback for the American Way and Sage Hill Parkway Connector roadway.
Have a motion from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem District 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 8.5 is discuss and consider professional service contract for design of water and sewer mains in Boone Street. This is Mike McKesson.
Okay, this item was discussed September 22nd in the workshop. On page 52, I've got a couple of maps here I'd like to cover briefly again, just as a reminder. Page 52, you can see the little white box that shows the limits on Boone Street between Mineral Wells and West End. This is just south of Southwestern Christian College, just east of Bradshaw. The scope of work does include design replacing water and sewer. The note says may replace water, and I apologize about that. This was kind of a worksheet. I was going back and forth with Frank Stevens with SPI. He's here again tonight. During some negotiations, I didn't get updated, but the scope does include water and sewer. On the next page, and also what's driving this, reminder of what's kind of driving this in a large way is we've had a lot of contact from people interested in developing those lots. There's about 9 or 10 lots that are single ownership, family inheritance, and they're wanting to sell them as a lump sum. And there's developers interested, but without adequate water and sewer, it was kind of prohibitive. So that's what is starting to drive this. So on the next page, on 53, one of the things that we did go back to Frank recently, just in the last month or so, was to take a look at survey information to pick up adequate drainage. So up and down West End, basically from Bradshaw all the way to the east, towards that drainage ditch down there, getting close to where it splits off at Mineral Wells. We want to get some good survey data all up and down here, as well as Boone Street, to make sure that we can have information to adequately address any drainage issues, because there were some things that came up over the last few months in that area of Boone and West End. So the next page on 54, the letter from Frank summarizes that this is a proposal for $43,800, not to exceed that amount, and it is for survey, design, construction services to take care of the water and sewer in Boone Street. And that is staff's recommendation, and with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So something that has occurred recently, and I mean recently as today, we began talks with Southwestern Christian College and maybe working on a master plan for SWCC. And my comment, I guess, or thought for Mike is, am I going to change anything?
Great question. I'd like to go ahead and get SPI under contract, because as our friends over here at Southwestern Christian College do their master plan, it's good for us to have this data and for us to have this information. If we need to sit down with Mike and with Frank as they go through this study and say, hey, what are the implications if Southwestern Christian College does X, Y, Z, does something different, surprises us in some way, we can make sure that nothing they do is in conflict with this. We got plenty of room in our scoping to do that.
Council, I apologize because you're not aware of it. Grady was, because he was at the meeting. But one of the things that the mayor had mentioned was that the city wants to be partners with SWCC as they look at their growth potential and how can the city play a part in what they're going to get done, without making any commitments from anyone, but just let them know that we are going to be there as they move forward, if and when we can assist. Thank you, Mike, for those comments. So I hear staff recommendation hasn't changed on that. I'm good to go with it, if y'all are. Do I have any more comments?
Did you say that was 4,300?
Yes, not to exceed 43,800.
That's for the survey.
That's for survey, design, and construction services, bidding the project, review any things that come up in construction, submittals and so forth.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Mike. So we have, is there a motion on item 8.5?
Yes, may I make a motion that we authorize our city manager to negotiate the agreement, Boone Street, not to exceed 43.
We have a motion to move forward with the professional service contract. Is there a second?
Mayor, a second.
We have a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there any further discussion?
Additional question.
Yes.
What budget does this pull from?
Yes, the funding for this design is set up in the utility capital reserve. I failed to mention that. And this is, that is for FY21. There is not specific construction money set up yet, but we may have some opportunities to pull that from pay-as-you-go, or we can defer it to FY22 on construction.
I'd say 90 days from now, we're going to have a good cost estimate on all of this work.
Yes.
And we'll just evaluate it as staff at the time. If we feel like we can do it in this fiscal year, we'll bring that into you. If we think it has to wait till next fiscal year just due to cash flow, then we'll bring that message to you as well.
And the engineering will hold for that length of time?
Yes. Frank has not expressed any concern.
I feel good, Frank.
I'll say yes.
Good.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 8.6 is discuss and consider resolution number 995, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, adopting the City of Terrell Drainage Master Plan and making other findings related thereto. This is City Engineer Steve Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. We discussed this a week or two ago, but as a recap, this is basically a resolution which adopts Figure A and Table 13, which are attached to the resolution under agenda pages 72 and 73. 72 is a map with a table on it that has large projects. This is our capital improvement program. And page 73 is Table 13, which is a larger summary of those. This comes directly from our drainage master plan. If you'll remember, a little over 2 years ago, we started that. We summarized all that earlier this year, and we've been discussing portions of this, and this resolution will adopt our capital improvement plan and the projects contained therein. This will help us get points on a GLO grant that we'll be bringing to you, probably another resolution for approval on October 20th.
So
and let me just say, this is going to help us get points for a grant that we're going to bring to you soon. And that grant will have 5 projects. I'll go over all those in detail that evening. You'll have the information before then in a map form and a summary form. And we'll need to adopt this as a part of that we'll take 5 projects that are contained within the CIP and put those in a grant for about $7 million, and you'll be passing a resolution at your October 20th meeting to apply for the grant. So I just want to kind of layer that in there with this discussion. But tonight it's only to adopt the CIP map and table contained in your drainage master plan.
So, Council, this is a roadmap for us moving forward with all of these projects. This is going to allow us to specifically look at 5 of these projects in the amount of about $7 million for the grant. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, sir.
And so this is the point system that they use, and part of that is to pass this resolution to move forward, 995.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll say this goes along with 4 of the 5 of you at the budget retreat this summer had drainage listed as one of your major concerns. We hear you loud and clear, and we're continuing to echo that with staff bringing you projects to marry up with that.
Right. So this is the beginning of addressing most of what the city's problems are within drainage. Do you have any questions, comment?
So we just want to adopt the CIP map and the table that the drain master.
Yes, sir. The resolution essentially has some whereases about how we went through the drainage master planning process, had a public meeting, sought public input, and the resolution is to adopt the Figure A map that's in your packet there and the Table 13, which contain the 20 projects or so that are in our drainage master plan capital improvement program.
Because Steve has teed it all up inside the resolution, all you are looking for here is a approval of Resolution 995.
Okay.
I'm not asking for any money tonight.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a motion on item number 8.6?
Mayor, I make a motion we adopt resolution number 995, dealing with the drainage master plan and other findings related thereto.
We have a motion from Charles Whitaker, District 4, to approve 995. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8.7 is discuss and consider approval of Texas Civic Construction Notice, Civil Construction Notice for bid project number 17-07 for safe routes to school. This is Glenn Caldwell.
Good evening, Council. I'm the little Glenn Caldwell. This item was previously discussed in our earlier workshop. City staff would like to recommend awarding to bid for Texas Civil Construction to provide construction services for Project 17-07, Safe Routes to School, not to exceed $628,491.55.
Again, this item is to improve the walkways to and from schools for our children, but also for the adults in the evening that want safe access in and about the city. We workshopped this earlier. Anybody have any further questions of Mr. Caldwell, not Caldwell?
Mayor, can I just anticipate one thing, that this is included in your capital improvement fund budget. It's $628,000 of cost, and then you actually get reimbursed $500,000. So there's $500,000 on this project coming from the state of Texas due to the good work of the team here. So we get $500,000. First we'll spend $628,000, and then during the course of spending that, we'll get reimbursed $500,000. I'll tell you that we didn't quite have our estimate right in the capital improvement fund budget, but we've got more than adequate fund balance to get a $500,000 grant on a $600,000 project. So we'll come forward with an amendment on the capital improvement fund budget later on, but we've got plenty of fund balance to do this.
So our cost is about $128,000.
Yes, sir.
We get
Uh-huh.
620, 620 or something then?
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good spend for the city. Cornell, I see that Glenn lets you do all the dirty work, right? He came and gave a presentation, you have to come and ask him.
He'll feed his corns,
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mayor?
Yes.
Knowing Mr. Singers, I know we already have, but we've communicated well with the schools and how fabulous this thing's going to be over there.
Absolutely, and that's really an ongoing project, but yes, we did do that, and they actually had to send a letter of support in with the application. Yeah.
So that leads me to two questions. One, the drop off, pickup. Actually, the improvements are not going to directly impact traffic there necessarily, so I take that back. What is the time frame? How fast are we going to be able to celebrate new sidewalks and lighting and improvements through this project?
Yes, Ms. Councilwoman, we believe that this project should not take more than 3 months, but they have about 9 months to complete the project.
Okay.
So we're going to say 9 months.
Okay. Is there,
We are planning on doing a groundbreaking. I think that there's a nice, safe place that we can do it that's more on that edge of the trail that goes from South Rockwall over to the Brownstone apartment complex. There's probably a spot there that we can do a groundbreaking, and my goal is to do a groundbreaking prior to the end of October so that we can do a little celebration there and get the shovels out and the hard hats and say, rah, rah, we're starting the construction on this project. How long Glenn gives them to mobilize, it's probably a little bit longer than that, but I'm ready to celebrate. I'm very happy with this project. For me, one of the very first things that Steve Rogers introduced me to when I came here 12 years ago was the massive lack of sidewalks coming to each of our schools. He had been working with the school district at the time on getting the first Safe Routes to School project done. That was a very, very popular, very well-received project that Glenn worked on when he was in the engineering department, and couldn't be happier with that. So I'm enthusiastic about it. I'm ready to pitch dirt and a shovel and say yahoo for this thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would certainly be remiss if I didn't share a brief story. When I came on council a little over a year ago, there were two strong advocates over on one has left Terrell, unfortunately, but over on South Medora and Brownstone Apartments, and they certainly pointed out the open drainage area in between Brownstone Apartments and South Medora. What's in between South Medora and South Rockwall is covered drainage, but it needed to be, there was standing water there, it did not smell good, and there was trash, and there are families that will often walk from the apartments or the neighborhood over to the school, or simply just walk to get from one area to the other. And certainly, staff helped us clean up the area, And I'm pushing for more improvements, more neighborhood level improvements for our city. So certainly want to thank staff for, getting this project moving forward, continuing to move forward, and we're excited for the groundbreaking and the new additions to our neighborhood.
Thanks, Councilman. Thank you. So Mayor, entertain a motion on item 8.7.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Texas Civil Construction Notice for bid project number 17-0707 for safe routes to school.
I have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Yes.
Do we have to have it not to exceed amount?
Yeah, what you'll want to do is rattle off this item on the agenda item report from Glenn, where it says 628-491-55. That's what we're looking for here.
628-495.
Yeah, 628-491 and 55 cents. 628-491-55.
All right, would you like to amend the motion?
Mayor, I move to amend the motion to read as approval of Texas Civil Construction Notice for bid project number 17-07 for safe routes to school in the amount not to exceed $628,491.55.
Thank you. We now have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there a second?
I second.
I have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8.8, discuss and consider resolution number 994, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, supporting the proposed Highway 20 frontage road improvements from Lawson Road to Wilson Road, providing for an effective date. Mr. Sanders.
So Mayor and Council, we workshopped this, I think, twice. Once we talked about the big picture, and that was several months ago. And then I believe last time we met, we talked about this specific resolution. The idea here is that as the Texas Department of Transportation proposes something for environmental approval, they do go out and seek resolutions from local governments saying, hey, yep, we're the local government, we like this idea. And so you're really saying two things to TxDOT and really to the Federal Highway Administration in this resolution. One is that you just flat out support all of the frontage road idea from Lawson Road over to Wilson Road. So that's basically saying the new frontage roads in Kaufman County on Interstate 20, you're good to go. You like the project. We've been engaged in the environmental process. There is an enormous number of details that we work on a day-to-day basis. I think one of them, as we brought up last meeting, Councilwoman, was the issue of the sound barriers along the Kings Creek neighborhood. Supporting this resolution isn't saying we're not going to keep fighting for sound barriers, but right now that's one of those details that we're still arm wrestling with them on to see what we can do to get sound barriers at the Kings Creek neighborhood. They're not in now, but we're going to try to get them in. But we do support the fact that they want to build the frontage roads from one side of the city to the other side of the city. That's a great economic development opportunity for us. And then the other one here is that we support the Tanger Drive access alternative, concept number 1 attached. And as we discussed last time, this is basically what we wished had been built at the outlet mall when the outlet mall was first built. And so it's great news. It's taking out Tanger Drive. It is adding a frontage road going along the front of it. It's providing 1, 2, 3, 4 access points to the frontage road. Great big old right turn bay so you can pull right into the middle of it. Opportunity to use one of the exits from British Flying School Boulevard, which is the 2578 exit, to get there directly. State Highway 34 has an exit where you can get into some of that access. It takes the existing Tanger Drive and loops it around the front side of that Mariachi's location so that Mariachi's has an access point, and that you can go sort of what will now, instead of being the front way in and out, You can take it as the back way in and out and go over to the corner of Tanger Drive and State Highway 34. All that stays in place. All we're doing here is adding a brand-new frontage road. So that schematic is attached to this resolution, and I can tell you that we beat this up several times until we did come to something that we liked. I won't sugarcoat it. Whenever you are removing a local roadway, which is what Tanger Drive is, the state of Texas is going to look to one of your future city councils and say, hey, future city council, it's time for you guys to financially participate in removing that section of roadway. And all I can tell you is it'll be well worth it at the time for them to spend hundreds of millions on frontage roads. We can certainly take out a section of Old City Road at that location. But all that's for the future. Right now, today, all we're saying is the schematic makes sense, and frankly, it's the schematic they should have built in the first place. So that's what is embodied in Resolution 994.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
No.
Hearing none, Mayor, entertain a motion on item 8.8.
Mayor, make a motion that we do on resolution number 914.
Have a motion from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there a second?
Mayor, a second.
Have a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 9.1 on the consent agenda is discuss and consider ordinance number 2845 on second reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, establishing a City Council Code of Ethics, an ethics affidavit establishing legal and ethical standards to guide the actions of members of the Terrell City Council, and to hold City Council members accountable for any violations of these standards of conduct. This is something that we have talked about in workshop, and that needs to be done for our citizens as well as each other, so that we can hold each other accountable. Let those who elect us know that we're held accountable and that we're here to do the work of our taxpayers and those that voted us in office, and to let them know that we're going to do the things and hold ourselves in high standards as we move forward as mayors and councils. Does anybody have any questions or comments? None? Sims, or legal, do you have something that you would like to add?
No, Mr. Mayor, although I would certainly agree with everything you said, it's something certainly whose time has come. This is coming to you tonight on second reading, so it would be just a simple motion to approve ordinance number 2845 on second reading, and from the legal aspect, we would certainly recommend that you do so.
Are we prepared to sign these documents this evening?
I believe we do have that set up, yes.
Yes?
Do we have to take a voice vote?
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's a second reading.
So let's go ahead and do, let's take a vote on item 9.1. Do we have a motion?
We are making a motion that we approve ordinance 2845.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry.
Boris, did you vote for this?
Well, I had to, peer pressure.
Item, so are we gonna do executive?
Yes. We need to do executive
All right.
session first.
We're gonna do executive session. At this time, we'll adjourn into executive session in accordance with section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following: